Hi, and welcome to Terry Talks Movie Science Fiction Saturday once more. And I've got some new releases from Imprint Films, which I'll put aside from the other haul I did for the Imprint Films releases for this month, because these two releases, one of which has got half a dozen films in it, are strictly science fiction. So we're going to start with the individual movie release, the 4K one, which is really one of the great classics of 1950s American science fiction cinema. It came from outer space, but it's not this version. This is the old version that I've got. The Universal put out a few years ago with the 2D and 3D versions of the film. It's this one, which Imprint have just put out with a lenticular cover, and I love lenticular covers. I've got friends who collect lenticular, and I'll go close on that so you can see possibly the 3D effect of the lenticular cover on this. Nice work there. And as you can see, it came from outer space. Directed by the king of 1950s science fiction cinema for Universal, Jack Arnold, with a script written by Ray Bradbury. You don't get a better pedigree than that in 1950s science fiction cinema. I'll read you the blurb from the back just in case you haven't seen the film. An amateur astronomer, played by Richard Carlson, and his fiancée, played by Barbara Rush, are branded crackpots, witnessing a spaceship crash to the ground and a mysterious creature who disappears into the darkness. Before long, strange things begin to happen, but will the tide of disbelief turn in time? Got to do your spoiler. Yes, it will. And it ain't what you think it is. And the aliens aren't what people think they are. So we'll get to the special features on the disc before I show you the discs themselves. First off, you get a 4K release. You also get a Blu-ray release, and you get the 3D Blu-ray release for those few of you who have 3D Blu-ray players and a 3D TV. You get an audio commentary with film historian Tom Weaver on the 4K and the Blu-ray only. So if you want to watch the 3D disc, it's not on that. Jack Arnold remembers it came from outer space. An interview with director Jack Arnold from 1983, which is on the Blu-ray disc. The 3D Girl, an interview with actress Kathleen Hughes from 2004, which is on the Blu-ray. The Universe According to Universal, a documentary 4K and Blu-ray only about Universal science fiction in the 1950s. I'm looking forward to watching that one. I haven't watched it yet, but I'm looking forward to it. A theatrical trailer and a bonus feature, It Came from Outer Space 2 from 1996 in standard definition, which is on the Blu-ray disc only. There was a sequel, and this is it. To be honest with you, not as good as the first one, but for completion's sake, I'm glad they've got it on this release. Of course, there is a reverse J card there with all of the details on the back, but underneath the J card, of course, you do get the lenticular bit there, which is totally groovy. But on the back, you get a really nice image of Richard Carlson, Barbara Rush, and the alien, which I appreciate. I haven't seen that image before, and I really like it. Inside, first off, you get alternative artwork. There it is on the inside cover. The back's pretty much the same stuff as on the J card. Inside we get the 4K disc, the Blu-ray disc, right, and the 3D version of it. So 3 discs all in all but there's more. There's also art cards, and the art cards on this one are pretty good. The quality of them is superb. There is the slipcover for them. Inside, Richard Carlson meeting some of the strange aliens who are shapeshifters. Richard Carlson and Barbara Rush there. The ensemble obeying the instruction of keep watching the skies. Richard Carlson and an explosion. The aliens in their spaceship. And the great iconic image of Richard Carlson's figure, just giving you a bit of scale on the spaceship, which is a lovely bit of composition for a 1950s science fiction movie. The movie is in black and white, but then a lot of science fiction of the era was. Things like Tarantula and Creature from the Black Lagoon, all of those films were in black and white. And it gives them a certain aesthetic, which I really like. And Jack Arnold was really good at getting the most out of a black and white movie. Just so many great Jack Arnold films. And then in the 1960s, he was underappreciated. And then in the 1960s, he did a lot of episodic TV. And every now and then you watch an episode of I Spy or some other show. And the director's Jack Arnold. And you think, you deserve better, mate. It's Interesting career. And there is the end spine of it. But that release is fantastic. And I've already got in mind who I'm going to give this to, but that one's going to a good home because I don't think I need anything else but the Imprint edition of this. And thank you very much to Imprint for sending it over. Now, on my socials, which are full of movie buffs and movie experts and movie critics and even a few movie directors, this box set got a lot of buzz. It was the one where everybody's going, I need that, and I need that, and I've got it. It is Tales of Adventure Collection number 5, the science fiction one. Not the first science fiction one, because there was the previous one with all the Rocket Men movies, but this one has a whole bunch of different films, 6 movies in all, and they're all from the 1950s, and they're all classics. And one of them is the first science fiction movie I ever saw. I went to the Crescent Cinema in Fairfield when I was a very small child with my uncles Roy and John, and we saw This Island Earth. But the movies in the collection are The 27th Day, The Night the World Exploded, This Island Earth, Devil Girl from Mars, The Gamma People, and a standard definition movie called The Underwater City, about the creation of an underwater city, which is really a bit fun and interesting. There is the J card from the back. And underneath the J card, there's always a secret thing underneath the J cards. It's not really a J card, but the card on the back anyway, is Patricia Luffin as the Devil Girl from Mars. On this side, we've got the Metal and a Mutant. And on this side, we have the list of the movies. And we go through the discs now. We'll start with the silliest of them. And it's silly in a way that's heartwarming. It's not silly in a way that's annoying. The 1950s Danziger Brothers movie, made in the UK, directed by David McDonald. Devil Girl from Mars, with Patricia Luffin's in there. We get John Laurie, Peter Reynolds, an actor who moved to Australia eventually and got very famous doing cigarette commercials for a cigarette brand called Wild Woodbines. And he was playing an Edwardian dandy and doing a lot of ads and doing very well. He turned up in a whole bunch of television as well in Australia in the 1960s and 70s. And his career as the Wild Woodbines guy ended when he was smoking in bed and unfortunately burnt himself up and died in a house fire. But leaving that aside, Devil Girl from Mars. Fantastic film. I did have this on originally VHS. I didn't have it on DVD, but there were digital copies around and it was floating around other places. But I love how silly this movie is. A whole bunch of people in a Scottish inn off in the countryside, in the Highlands. Suddenly, all of these characters who have all got their backstory, and there's a little bit of soap operishness about them. Their whole lives change when the spaceship lands and a woman from Mars with a giant robot who, as Kim Newman says in some of the extras, looks like a 1950s refrigerator, come in and they're looking for men to repopulate Mars because Mars needs men. It's not Mars needs women in this case, it's Mars needs men. And Patricia Luffin is one of the iconic images of 1950s English science fiction because she looks like a fetish model in a leather cape and a leather helmet and hot pants and a very unusual costume. But it's not in any way to be taken seriously. I like the special effects in it as well. They're different than the kind of special effects you get in America. There's a lot of cloud tank stuff in this, but it looks really good for its time. And the movie, of course, is in black and white. There's your disc, which has the same image as the front of the box. And inside, you get the image of Patricia Luffin's character Naya and 2 of the human beings who are a little bit befuddled by this strange alien woman. That movie is just such silly fun. And it was originally based on a stage play, which would have been fun to see. I would love to have seen a stage production of Devil Girl from Mars. It would have been something unusual in 1950s English theatre. So on this disc, you get, of course, it's in Blu-ray, 1080p. Audio commentary with film historian Philip Berry from 2025. Audio commentary with novelist critic Kim Newman and Barry Forshaw from 2024. And they always have a lot of fun just sitting and chatting with each other about the movie. It's It's an informative commentary with those two whenever that happens. But it's very kind of hanging around with your mates kind of commentary, which I like. And there's also Kim Newman separately talking about the movie. There's also Invasion from Outer Space, an interview with author John Towson from 2025. So this one's chock-a-block with good stuff. Next disc, I'm just grabbing these in the order I've got them in the box. This is a very unusual movie from, I think, 1956, which stars Paul Douglas, a beefy American actor who did a lot of work in the UK, and Eva Bartok and Leslie Phillips playing the psychic in kind of comic relief, but not in quite in the same way he did on the Carry On films. A lot of this film was shot on location in Austria, which gives a higher production value than it might have otherwise. And it's called The Gamma People. The setup's kind of fun but silly. A train carriage breaks loose of the train, and because a couple of mischievous kids change the tracks, it rolls back into a country called Gudavia, which is an isolated little country in Europe, which has a secret. Basically, it's such a tiny country that a scientist rules it after their king died, and that scientist is experimenting with gamma rays on the people of Gudavia, particularly the children and the young people. And some of the experiments produce geniuses of various kinds. Some produce young people who are amoral monsters, and some produce hulking, very susceptible to influence, basically zombies, who will obey the will of the scientist who is running the country. Really weird film. Shot in black and white, but I like it, and it's interesting. Of course, there are parallels between communism and totalitarianism and what's going on with this mad scientist in Gudavia, but they're not really punched in hard. They're just part of the background of the film. The précis on the back says, an American reporter smells the story of a lifetime when he's stranded in an Iron Curtain country, where the local dictator is using gamma rays to transform children into mutated henchmen. The extras on this, 1080p, because it is Blu-ray. The Underwater City, a bonus film in standard definition. It's in pan and scan standard definition. It's not the best quality film, but it's the story of a team who are building an underwater city and the perils of doing that. It feels a little bit like an Irwin Allen, Ivan Tors kind of movie. And one of the virtues of it is it stars Julie Adams from The Creature from the Black Lagoon. But I've watched about half of that, and they've got a lot of those underwater sequences where people move slowly, and they've got the ripple effect of the water in front of the camera, and they've got scuba gear on, but instead of blowing bubbles of air, they're actually blowing soap bubbles up into the air from the scuba tanks, which makes it look a bit silly. And it's a nice little addition to this particular disc. Now, there's your back. There is your disc. And there is Paul Douglas, Leslie Phillips, a young boy, and a sculpture he's making for the local festival, which is very disturbing. There's a lot of people running around chasing each other and being chased by things, but it's got a good look at the locations really make it work. And it's interesting that even though there's a totalitarian regime running this country, nobody has a gun. So there isn't that kind of pew-pew, duck, pew, ricochet kind of thing happening in this movie. It's all people running around and grabbing each other. But The Gamma People, another hidden gem, and you might want to check it out when you get the disc, because it is nonetheless a part of that history of science fiction from the 1950s. Not made by Universal or any of or Columbia or any of the American studios, but made in England for an English audience and, of course, for the Commonwealth countries. Third disc, we've got The 27th Day, which stars Gene Barry and Valerie French. High concept science fiction, this one. 5 ordinary people are taken up into a spaceship and are given a little box of capsules. I'll read you the blurb anyway. It probably describes it better than I can. 5 ordinary humans are summoned by an alien who gives each of them a box containing capsules capable of killing millions of people within a certain radius. If they can refrain from using the capsules for 27 days, the Earth will be spared by the aliens. really high concept science fiction. And the screenplay was by the guy who wrote the novel, John Mantley. And it looks good. It's a studio product in America from the 1950s. High Concept is one of those movies that if you saw it as a kid, you remember it. And the 27th Day has a little twist in the end, which is kind of a kumbaya moment. But it's mostly a chase thing where all these people from across the world, and there's a Russian guy, there's a Chinese young woman who is quickly disposed of. There's Valerie French in England. There's Gene Barry's character in America. And there's a European scientist as well. And they've all got these moral dilemmas, like they could destroy the enemies of their people just by giving directions to this capsule. And then everybody within a 5,000-mile radius will die. It's kind of like that pressing a button and getting $1 million and somebody you don't know dies kind of situations. There are geopolitical ramifications to this, but the ending doesn't quite land because, no, I won't give you the spoiler, but if you ask me about it later, I might tell it to you. But there's a complication to the denouement of the movie, which has some odd implications. So you got the 27th Day on there, but you've also got The Night the World Exploded, a second movie, a 1957 kind of disaster movie, which stars Catherine Grant, who later married Bing Crosby and became Catherine Crosby. William Leslie, directed by Fred F. Sears, who did a few science fiction movies. The Night the World Exploded, which is a great title, by the way. A scientific team builds a machine that can predict earthquakes and predicts one will hit California within the next 24 hours to a skeptical government. That's just the setup. The scientists do indeed have a machine which will predict earthquakes, but they go down to the Carlsbad Caverns to get the best readings to predict earthquakes because they have predicted when the earthquake happened. And thousands of people died, and there was a lot of damage. So they want to get the next best reading on the earthquakes that are happening. And they find something called Element 112, little rocks that are in the water in the riverbeds in Carlsbad Caverns. You take the rock out of the water, it expands a lot suddenly, starts producing a lot of heat, and then explodes like a small nuke. And what they find out that the earthquakes that are happening around the world are caused by human beings mining and rerouting water, so that the element 112, which is underneath the earth, it's all through the earth, is being dried out, is expanding, and is causing explosions, which are tilting various parts of the earth and lifting various parts of the earth, not necessarily along continental plates, but they're causing a lot of problems. And if they don't do something within 28 days, the world's going to get destroyed. And so they start this enormous geoengineering project across the world, rerouting rivers, seeding the clouds to make it rain, busting dams in order to soak down this element so it won't expand and explode and cause these enormous earthquakes and eventually crack the world. So there's a lot of geoengineering in this. The solution to the problem comes up pretty fast, but they've got to get all the countries in the world to cooperate to make it work. And there's that kind of thing happening there. A lot of this is done with stock footage. There are some location shots, but for the most part, it's one of those B-actioners where they set up an enormous science fiction premise of destruction. Then they know the solution to it pretty quickly. It's just a matter of implementing it in time so that things don't go all splody. You got that cover on the disc. Inside, you get an alternative cover if you prefer The Night the World Exploded to the 27th Day. Both of the movies are on this disc, so you get a disc with the two movies there. Yeah, watch these ones again. I've already seen the 27th Day, but I hadn't seen The Night the World Explodes. And it's not bad for a B programmer. I enjoyed it while still realizing that it was a low-budget B programmer. And I had a great time with it. Then we get to the big one, the one that I first saw as a small child at the Crescent Cinema in Fairfield with my two uncles, which scared me a lot. And it wasn't the monster that scared me, because I'm an unusual person. I was an unusual child. It's This Island Earth, the fantastic movie from 1956. Took 2.5 years to get it made because the special effects took that long to do. We all know about This Island Earth. The scientists who get taken to Metaluna to try to help the planet survive the invasion from Zargon, which is destroying their planet. You got all of the cool stuff from it. You got the flying saucer, you got the aliens with the big heads, you got the creation of the interocitor, and everybody I know who saw this movie wants an interocitor. And all we ended up with is little black mirror phones. Fantastic science fiction movie. And just one of the iconic films of the 1950s in the genre. Now, as far as the extras are concerned, 1080p, of course, and it looks good. It looked good on my big TV. Audio commentary with Heath Holland from Serial at Midnight podcast. Heath's been on YouTube for a long time, and he's a Facebook friend of mine. I sent him a congratulations message for his commentary, which is really complete. Covers a lot of ground and tells you a lot about the actors and the creation of the movie. It is a detailed commentary, and all credit to Heath for that. You get alternative versions of it. You get a 1.33:1 aspect ratio version of the movie, which is the version I've got on DVD. You get the trailers from Hell for This Island Earth with Joe Dante, and you get a theatrical trailer. It's a pretty good release. And there is the cover, of course. We get the disc with the same artwork on it. And we get that image, which is a publicity shot because it never actually happens in the film. Production design in this movie is fantastic. The special effects were state-of-the-art for the 1950s. Heath in his commentary said that this was Star Wars for baby boomers, and it's not, because we didn't have all the merch, and we didn't expect there to be endless films about it. It's a movie that people love. I mean, if you want something that's elevated slightly above This Island Earth, you'd go with, in the next year, Forbidden Planet. That one is probably the GOAT when it comes to 1950s science fiction movies. But This Island Earth, fantastic film. I'm glad it's got a release on Blu-ray here in Australia. It's just marvellous. And again, all congratulations to Heath for the wonderful commentary. Incredibly detailed, incredibly well researched, and a credit to him. So that one is probably my favourite release of the Tales of Adventure because it hits my sweet spot as a movie buff, as a science fiction buff. And again, there's Patricia Luffin. It's a devil girl from Mars, Naya. Great releases from Imprint this time around. Thanks again to Imprint for them. They're just so on point, and the extras do enhance the experience of the movie. I've seen extras in various films released that don't do a hell of a lot to enhance the experience and the knowledge of the film. But in this case of the Tales of Adventure Collection number 5 and the 4K release of It Came From Outer Space, everything comes together and everything works, and it becomes a masterclass in these particular films. And I always enjoy that experience. Even if I know some of the facts that are told, I love the fact that they're all put together and compiled for me in a very usable format. So that's what I got for you this time around. Classic science fiction movies. And I don't know where Imprint's going to go next with the Tales of Adventure in particular. But I'm interested to find out. They're going to spring it on us at some stage when they're put together. There's a lot of work that goes into these. But when they do, I'll be there for those releases. So that's what I got for you this time around. So thanks very much for watching. All the usual things. Please like and subscribe. Subscribing costs nothing. You can support the channel by becoming a channel member on YouTube or by becoming a patron at patreon.com/CherryHawksMovies. Let me know which of these movies you like and which ones you have fond memories of. Tell me what you remember of watching these movies. And next up, I've got the Monday video, and I'm reviewing the new Mission Impossible film, which I'm seeing in the morning. Amongst other things, I may well have something else in there, but that's the main thing I'm going to be reviewing. Got that odd relationship with the Mission Impossible films. I love the films, can't stand Tom Cruise. But until all of that happens, watch some good movies, watch some bad movies. Get some science fiction movies into you, and I'll catch you next time.